Yep, podcasts. A sweeping form of entertainment and information that has taken the world by storm over the past couple decades. Some may not believe that the idea of podcasts have been an ongoing phenomenon for so long. A lot of these ideas evolved from the 1980s, starting off as radio talk shows, internet talk radios, and a large contribution from the first iPod. It was in 2005 that iPod assisted in the evolution of bringing podcasts to audio devices and playback devices by adding it as a feature in iTunes, allowing people to play pre-recorded podcasts on a wide scale. Podcasts, originally known as audio blogs, now take up the form of education, interview, repurposed content, fiction, co-hosting, or even solo and monologues talking about various subjects. And since 2004 and their high rising, there have been significant changes to the platform. Some good, and some not so good. Today, we plan to dive into the phenomenon of podcasts, what it means in today's society, what kind of things it contributes to, as well as explore some common benefits and issues. To move further and break podcasts down into its parts, I think it'd be wise to operationally define what podcasts are. Podcasts can be seen as audio or visual forms of discussion with the intention of talking points, discussing information with guests, and navigating controversies. And as we know in society, controversies seem to be getting more and more popular. The common face validity intentions of podcasts typically fall into two categories: entertainment and enlightenment. Entertainment can take the form of many things, whether casual conversation, discussing things with popular icons or people, and enlightenment can take several forms as well, from motivational content, inspirational speakers from admirable people, to educational purposes, learning more about subjects, whether it be math, science, or the obstacles of life. There are times where entertainment and enlightenment can cross over. There are times where they pretend to. It is at this point that we will dive further. For those that are unfamiliar with the true and false positives that exist typically in the realm of science, true positive can be seen as a proper fit, genuine and whole when it came down to its selection process. A false positive can be seen as that snake in the grass that looks like the criteria that would normally meet a true positive, but at its core isn't. That relevancy to podcasts is very significant, because you have true and false positives of both entertainment and enlightenment. A true positive entertainment is going to be a form of entertainment that has the face validity to display entertainment and entertainment only. There is no hidden agenda. There is no additional criteria. There's no alien variables that are involved with that content. It's known to be purely on the basis of entertainment, and it's known that this is just for people to tune in for a sense of fun, joy, or interesting concepts, whether it be argumentative or it be a discussion about a subject that is something that can be fun. A false positive entertainment can be something that is, on the surface, is something that's supposed to be entertaining, but has underlying agendas and features, has hidden messages, has subliminal messaging, little ideologies and mentalities that are being infused into the content to try to push a narrative that either shouldn't be there or is manipulative in its regard and its pitch. A true positive in regards to enlightenment is the unique pitch of pursuing education, motivational means, or inspirational means in an integral form without bias or manipulation. Although very rare in its delivery, can be very significant in regards to content on the internet. A false positive in regards to enlightenment is exactly what you would expect. People that will be seeking controversy instead of genuine information or integral information. And on the surface, it looks like they're there to empower, but in all reality, there's a hidden agenda, a snake in the grass, or a political pitch that is fused into what they're trying to empower. In other words, they're not trying to specifically empower each individual, they're trying to empower a mentality into those individuals, a fusing of their thought process and pitching it into others as a way for them to think as well. If you know what you're getting into, there's no real issue with any of the concepts involved. There's no issue with any of the things mentioned. It becomes an issue when its face validity or the way it is displayed does not line up with what it is. And then these ideologies prey upon the impressionable society that we currently are, which makes the setting for the trap. It is no new fact that we as a society have become heavily dependent on the idea or the lifestyle of immediate gratification. That also applies to the information that we digest out in the world. As you can imagine, instead of reading through policies, reports, factual information that we can easily find just as fast, we naturally engage in pre-recorded material or live recorded material, things like podcasts, things like news outlets. And we take snapshots of some of the takes and some of the information provided on these platforms as what? We take it as evidence. We take it as truth. We take it as fact until we're proven otherwise. That in itself can provide a problem. That in itself is how misinformation and dramatic extremes carry across countries as fact. We as a modern society process information differently, especially nowadays. We don't want to read for the truth. That takes too long. At least most don't. And when we know that we as a society operate in that fashion, it makes it very easy to sell very appetizing concepts, appetizing topics. It's why clickbait still works on so many people in society. It's why it's so easy to know who to manipulate or what crowd to manipulate to make yourself seem interesting as possible. That's why a false positive entertainment can be seen as predatory. It can be seen as a way of, I just want to get the most attention possible, and I'm willing to lie about it in order to achieve it. Another element of the trap is the weaponization of the platforms themselves. Not just in a sense of a false positive enlightenment, but also as a justification for others, for criminals, for people that have done terrible things. They hop on certain platforms to be able to justify themselves, excuse themselves. Not to say that everyone is intentionally doing the same. Some can become apologetic, but that doesn't change the fact that these platforms are used on the essence of that as well. And if it's not in the basis of someone justifying themselves, it's to pitch a narrative that isn't just itself. It's to pitch lifestyles that they don't actually believe in. It's to pitch commands and ideologies that they don't live by. And that can be an issue in itself. Another element that is found in these traps is the idea of controversy over the truth. Controversy naturally gets more attention. So on these podcasts, they're more likely to have people that have a surrounding of controversy than have this surrounding of truth. Oh, like these people are going to bring information. They're going to bring knowledge into my platform, and they're going to make it more valuable. We're going to discuss things in a valuable sense. This is for others. This is to uplift others, and I'm glad to have this job. Instead, it's this controversy is going to be very beneficial to me because of all the attention I'm going to get and all the rage I'm going to get in regards to the comments or the interaction that my following will have with each other, pushing me to the top, making me more famous, making me more popular, becoming the word around town because I was able to stir the pot the most instead of provide a genuine service. One of the last elements that I've been able to identify is manifesting comparison. Naturally, in today's society, we are often more insecure and we grow in our insecurities as time pushes on. What some of these platforms will do is create insecurities or emphasize pre-existing ones by managing comparison. Look like me. You need to get like me, or you need to do what I'm doing. Or on the other side of it, it's judging you for not doing what they're doing. You see this on both sides of, you see this in religion, you see this in politics, you see this in categories of conversation that often leads to debate, that often leads to argument or conflict. These kinds of narratives and these kinds of motives don't often push to free someone of anything, and instead ensnaring minds to say, the more you listen to me, the more you'll be better off. Keep listening to my content, keep being a part of my community, because this is the only good thing for you. With these kind of variables at play, I don't think people really realize that the damage they're doing to their societies. I don't think they realize the damage that they're doing to their communities, their following. To be fair, I don't think it's that they care about them at all. I'm not saying that debate and conflict isn't a bad thing. I think there's a lot of beauty in being able to debate. I think there's a lot of beauty in being able to argue very unique points and being able to come to either agree or disagree on the basis of those debates and conversations. I'm not saying that that's a problem at all. But what I am saying, achieving an ability to obscure and intentionally obscure at that seems kind of shameless. It seems kind of spineless. And I think that when you're doing so at the cost of others in order to grow yourself, I think that's a form of narcissism. I think that's a form of self-obsession where you're trying to use people or use society or your following or community as a stepping stool to improve your own ability or your wealth. I think that there's something wrong with that. And I think that there's a lot of people that are in podcasts or podcast businesses that started it with the intention of doing so. Here's this quick money thing. I know how to talk on camera, and I'm going to manipulate my crowd until I'm famous. And so what kind of society that creates is a society that won't be trustworthy, a society that will be continuously fueled by immediate gratification and controversy. People aren't going to know who to believe. People aren't going to know who to trust. There's a lot of credible people, or used to be credible people, that decided to have controversial guests on their podcast, and now they have made their podcast controversial. I'm not here to argue an opinion over another. That's not the basis of this argument. One of the arguments that I could hear is that, well, everyone has their own ears and their own mind. They can do their own things. But the one thing that I will put forth is, I don't think you understand how impressionable our society is becoming. This has been a long generational issue. We have become more and more impressionable. And someone that we may like, iconic or not, that we appreciate as a person in regards to fame or popularity or relevance, there's a lot of people that would hear their words despite the context of it and then take it at face value. And then they walk around with these beliefs that they have no idea where they came from. And here they are wasting their life away with these beliefs. I think that's a huge missing gap in regards to accountability. People that can say whatever they want and then not be held accountable or hold themselves accountable on the basis of the impact that they're making is very childish. I think that's very immature. And I think that's one of the biggest issues at hand. And obviously, we can also lead to the argument of, well, that's not my problem. Well, the one argument that I have against that, or the one part of that debate that I could put forth, is if you're not concerned with your community, then you have failed at developing you along a certain route to be able to help your community. Because a lot of the time that men or people in society do not care for the people around them, or they're only concerned with themselves, is because they either been taught that by society or they haven't become the thing to be able to help. And I think that one of the greatest things about our development as people is being able to reach a point where we can. And we have that humility and openness to try, is that an attempt is made, because we are constantly pursuing better for ourselves. And it's very saddening and disheartening when I see some of the content on the internet. Granted, it is the internet. It's the wild, wild west from my understanding. I just don't think that there's a whole lot going on that can foster a true position of growth. And I would like to see more of it, hence me bringing awareness to it. I think what is missing in this realm of entertainment, or in this realm of media, is transparency. I find that having transparent hosts and transparent guests is the most ideal that you can make this platform. I think that there's a lot of misinformation. I think that people don't know the impact misinformation can cause. I think that there's a lot of people that don't even think about the impacts. I think that they're only concerned with their gain and not who they have to step on to achieve it. And I think that there is a massive antisocial component to some of the people that are successful in these podcasts. And so my suggestion to others is to understand that any dialogue heard is not credible. Your eyes make it credible. That's not to say that you can't ever believe anyone, but that's to say that ground your beliefs and your passions on something that you can feel, see, hear, or touch. If anyone is caught into the hole of pursuing controversies and pursuing the most entertaining thing at the cost of themselves. Your mind is a temple as much as your body is. You digest information all the same. And I think that plays a huge part. What you choose to put into it makes a huge difference. And you're setting yourself up and your patterns of behavior to continue to follow that kind of pattern. I do think that there's a little blame on the consumer. I do think that there's a little blame on the provider. But I also think there's a blame on the societal norm. I think that the best thing that we can do is bring awareness to it, so that way we can identify what we choose to digest and do so with transparency and awareness. I think that one of the most important things that we can do as people as we continue to live is to be aware, be conscious. Some of these things aren't good for you. Some of these things can be bad for you. And as long as we know what we're doing with it, then we can be more at peace with what our choices are. But the one thing that I seem to find consistently is the ignorance of it. Oh, I didn't know. Why are they lying? Why are they lying to me? It's just like you chose to listen to it. You didn't choose to question it. You didn't choose to put in the work. Find out for yourself. Use your own eyes and ears. Just because someone else said it doesn't make it true. You can pull your own information. You can do your own research. Although that may be inconvenient, I think a lot of our conveniences have led to some pretty terrible behaviors. I think there's a very simple fix to it. Not easy, but simple. And simple doesn't mean it's not hard, especially if we've been doing a certain kind of behavior for so long. It makes us easier to manipulate. And I think that one of the greatest strengths that others can provide is awareness. I don't blame people for being caught in the cycle. I think this is the best trap yet, because I don't think that there's a more powerful trap than the kind of trap where people don't even know that they're there. They don't even know that they're stuck. But I think it's about time that we found out. I think it's about time that we look. I think a lot of ignorance allows us to not look and doesn't want us to. I think we need to. I think that this is one of those situations where it's necessary. And although it may be uncomfortable at first, the outcome will be worth it. Thank you for everyone that watched the video so far. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, then dislike it. And hopefully you'll never see me again. But also comment in the comment section down below for any of your thoughts and perspectives on how podcasts have taken a turn for the worst. I think that there's a lot of manipulation. I think there's a lot of issues that we choose not to cover. I think that a lot of the truths are masked. I think half-truths have been very common lately and over a longer span of time than that. But these are just my thoughts, my shot at trying to bring awareness to it as its own solution. And I think that that's all someone like me can do at times. But thanks again, and I'll go ahead, see you next time.